in the island. She will tell you about a retail concept. It's on the Cove Atlantis on Paradise Island. And another expression of her inventiveness and awareness of where fashion is, especially hers is the luxury market. And her zest for investing, creating, and never dull, never boring. And I want to invite Miss Eve Lorenzotti to Eva to come here and get rid of me. I'm a little upset.
Thank you, Alice.
You're welcome, sweetheart.
Oi. Is this? Yeah, that'll work. Okay. Well, thank you, Alice, and I'm delighted to be here again. I'm lucky enough that I get to come here almost every year now. So, you know, I have a presentation for you, but as I was sitting here thinking a minute ago whether or not I want to take you through the presentation or whether or not I want to throw something out there that I've been thinking about a lot in the past month. And yesterday I was at Harvard for their retail conference, and it made me think about it even more. So why don't we just do this for a second? So if I say to you, aspiration is gone and we're in the era of inspiration, what does that mean? So let me just tell you what I think it means and why I think it's so important. In the last 10 years in this industry, and whether you call it retail, whether you call it fashion, whether you call it luxury, whether you call it, it's the consumer world. It's what we create in order to create desire. We have been living in a moment of aspiration. And what does that mean? That means me too, that means fast, that means how big, how much, how quickly. It means I just have to keep going. And all of a sudden, 2009 happens, the market changes. The economy changes. Things that were very important to a lot of people start to lose importance. Why do they start to lose importance? Because all of a sudden, we don't need 6 pairs of shoes, and all of a sudden, we don't need to buy this, that, and the other, and we actually realize that we can be very happy without these things. Or we also realize that maybe it wasn't as good as we thought it was. Or we realize that the stores aren't exciting as they once were. Or we realize that there are a lot of interesting concepts online that are coming to us and servicing us in a different way. Or we realize that Target and Walmart and all of the big box retailers are actually smart and they're bringing us collections from Jimmy Choo at a price that we can afford. Or we realize that it doesn't really matter. There is no creation. There is no innovation. And so what does that mean? We're in a moment of inspiration. And what that means, in my opinion, is what makes this industry move is authenticity. And authenticity means the real thing. Means I care enough about this product to buy it. The consumer is never going to go away. We are the consumer. We are made to want. We are created to desire. But we have to desire, because without discovery and desire, there's nothing. There's just more product. Who cares about another pair of black shoes? Who cares about another jacket? Does that make that jacket more interesting than the one next door? I don't know. It's an opinion. So I talk about this because I think that you being in the position you're in, you're probably in the luckiest position you've ever been in, because you get to choose. You get to choose what you do in your life now. And now is an exciting time because it's a difficult time. And out of difficulty comes great opportunity. And one of the things I feel is the great stores in this country are no longer great stores. And why are they no longer great stores? Because we don't have merchants. And what does it mean to be a merchant? A merchant is somebody who has a point of view, not an accountant, not a sell-through person, not a person who's going to be more worried about how much they're going to send back to you and how many markdowns you're going to have to take, but somebody who realizes that you being in that store is exciting. Why are people still talking about Geraldine Studs and Henry Bendel's? What's gone on in the last 20 years? Why are we still talking about it? Because what she created was an experience that made you want to go back. And why are we talking about the past when we're actually clever and we have the tools of the future? Are we not capable? Are we not interested? Are we not inspired? Are we not motivated? Are we too afraid to take risk? That's how I feel. I mean, I look through the stores and I do this little game that I play. And my game is I pretend like I'm going to go shopping. And I do have the intentions of going shopping. And I take my daughter, who, let me tell you, is taller than I am and has an opinion bigger than mine most of the time. and we go to the top of every store, and we'll go down together, and we'll actually shop every floor. And at the end of it, I'll look at my watch and see how long it's taken me to get down to the bottom. And I have a hard time beating 45 minutes. And when you think about it, and you think you can get through Saks Fifth Avenue in 30 minutes because it's just not worth the time, that's a problem. And I'm not picking on Saks. You know, I love the guys at Saks. They're all wonderful. And it could be Barney's, it could be Bloomingdale's, it could be, you know, so if I have the need, yes, I need a cashmere sweater, so I know I can get a great one at Bloomingdale's for X price. But if I don't have the need, and I want desire, and I want to build, what do? So, and then you look at a concept completely on the other line that I want to talk to you about, Threadless. How many of you are familiar with Threadless? Now, Threadless has nothing to do with luxury. What Threadless has is 1.5 million customers, online customers. And by next year, they will have 3 million online customers. Now, what does Threadless do? Threadless has no inventory risk. They have no positioning risk. You get there, you design your t-shirt, and next thing you know, it arrives. And they are making a killing. Why? Are they appealing to something that we want right now? Are they smart enough to let the consumer guide their experience? Are they innovative in that they're giving you something that maybe you can't find somewhere else? I don't know what's right and what's wrong, but what I know is that in the industry today, we have forgotten what drives the customer fundamentally. And that means what drives them fundamentally is discover and desire. It means value in what they have. And value can be seen in two spectrums. On one side, value because it's a good price, and I'm getting it at a great deal. So I'm getting Jimmy Choo's from H&M, I'm getting so-and-so from Kate Moss from Topshop, I'm getting whatever from Target, I'm getting, you know, V by Ava from HSN. That's value, right? But value is also being proud of what you have, being excited about what you have because of the way it's made, because of the fact that you've had it for years, because you can respect the talent behind it, because it's actually something that's true style. Because what is true style? True style is not fashion. Fashion is a moment. Women with great style or people with great style have layers. They collect over time. And what they have could be last year, this year, next year, 10 years ago, but the way they put it together becomes their style. And what they do is they look at fashion moments, and from those fashion moments, they take incredible, iconic pieces. And that's the same thing in their home, and it's the same thing in their life. So I'm saying all this to you because I think that it's a time to rethink. And trust me, I've had to rethink a lot of things in the last year and a half. You know, when I first started this company, I didn't know what I was doing. And I always say, you know, ignorance was really what drove me. I had no idea. I was been brought up in Europe. My dream was to come to America. I came to America. Then, of course, coming here, I didn't want to leave. I had to get the perfect job. And, of course, what is the perfect job? It's banking, right? So I went into banking, and I loved it, and I learned how to work really hard. But then I was in thirst of creating something, of bringing together creativity and business. And I believe that I was completely unfamiliar with the catalog business, having been brought up in Europe. And at the same time, I didn't understand why luxury wasn't a bigger thing in America. Now, you got to jump back with me quite a few years. We're not talking about right now, we're talking about 10 years ago, when it was still a mom and pop industry, when many of the brands that you're seeing today had no stores, when it was still a very fragmented moment. And so I was delusional enough to think that I could create the catalog that would do this. It's not that I wanted to be in the catalog industry, I just wanted to create something that would bring ideas and consumers together. So that's how it all started. But then as the years went on and as I sort of tried to do this and the internet boom came and all these things happened, what I really realized is not that I wasn't interested in building a catalog business, I wasn't interested in building an internet business, I was interested in curating ideas. I was interested in people who inspire people, the people, places, and things that we care about. I was interested in taking the clutter and bringing it to you in a way that's different, in a way that could be understood, believed in, that there are faces behind each of the products that matter, and that the angle from which Vivre was approaching things is that we're creating this box in which people could package their individuality. So I'm going to flip through the slides quickly so that you maybe don't get too bored of hearing my voice, and then I can just sort of see what I wanted to tell you. Which gets me to this sort of like thing that I'm a big believer in, which is what I call the 4 P's to success. And if you get the 4 of them right, you'll maybe have the 5th. And it's passion. I think that, and that goes back to what I was saying a few minutes ago about authenticity. I think that really understanding why you're doing something, why you care to do something, why you want to do something, the true inspiration versus so-and-so is able to sell t-shirts at $30, so if I sell t-shirts at $30, I'm going to be successful. That's not going to work. There's too many t-shirts out there at $30. And there'll be a t-shirt at 25, and by the way, there might be one at 5. So really becoming passionate about what it is that you're doing so that you can survive through the difficulty and create something that you can stand behind. People. I can't tell you how important people are. People who surround you, people who you meet, people who you see. And the biggest thing about people is you never know when that person's going to become important. You may meet somebody today and say, what do they have to offer me? I don't really know. I don't really know. And then all of a sudden, 3 years later, they're the person who unlocks the door. It's amazing how that happens. It happened to me the other day. About 4 years ago, I was in LA, and one of my mentors said to me, you know, you're going to LA and you have to meet the people from William Morris. And I said, well, why do I need to meet people from William Morris? I mean, I'm not a celebrity. I'm not in this business. It makes no sense. Anyway, I went to meet them because I have a rule that says you never turn down a meeting and you always return a phone call within 24 hours. I met him. We had a really good rapport. We had a really good conversation. And now I'm in a position where I'm doing some things in the media. So I was with this person the other day, and I said, listen, I really need your advice on this. He said, call David. I said, that's right, I can call David. So I called David, which was a person I met 4 years ago, and he's just helped me unlock because he has been the attorney for William Morris for the last 18 years. It's just a small example that I can think about. I can give you hundreds of examples like this. So I really believe people are very, very, very important, and it's important that you surround yourself, listen, approach people all the time. Perseverance, it's really hard. So you're going to have to persevere. There'll be good days, there'll be bad days, there'll be terrible days, there'll be exuberating days. You have to persevere, because if you really believe in something, sometimes you're too early, sometimes you're too quick, sometimes you're too late. But if you keep at it, look at Isaac. I know he's coming to speak soon. Isaac is a perfect example of perseverance. He's had his highs and he's had his lows, and he's had an incredible moment, but he's persevered, and through his perseverance, he's doing so many incredible things, and he will remain somebody that will mark fashion in America. So I'm a big believer in that. Patience. You need to be patient. I have 0 patience, by the way, so I always have to say, I have to remind myself that you have got to be patient. And if you manage to do those things, you will get profits. But if you start with profits, you're going to have a really tough time, because there's always a smarter, faster, bigger. Actually, there's a book that I just read that I think is incredible, and it's by Pink. I don't remember his first name, but it says why left-brainers will rule the world. And basically, to summarize this book for you, what it basically says is that in the past 10 years, we've been in an industry of accountants, lawyers, businessmen, all this. And now we're moving into an industry where, in order to compete, because everybody has ability, and the standards are so high, and the things are so fast, and you can get all the information online, and everybody knows that in order to get into a good college, you have to study for those SATs, and you have to study for those GMATs, so everybody studies, so that they're all getting 1800s. So what happens? How do I get in? How do I do it? So if you don't train your creative mind about how to approach things, and you don't use creativity in whatever industry you're in, you're going to be at a loss. It's a really interesting book. I really recommend that you take a look at it. But I think that you need to start with what really drives you in order to have a vision and to know that it's successful. That doesn't mean that you won't change it. Trust me, you'll change it. That's called evolving. That's called changing. That's called adapting. That's called making mistakes, which, by the way, is okay. Experience is the word for the mistakes we survive. And what is the marketplace? I think that the marketplace is bigger than it's ever been, because I really believe that what the internet has done is not functioned as a channel, but functioned as a change in consumer behavior. And what that means is that we are in a global marketplace today. We're no longer in a local marketplace. So the way we think about things and the way we do things is really based upon that thought process. And what I sort of urge people to think about, which is quite different, and there was a lot of discussion around this yesterday, is for many years, when somebody wanted to start a new brand or a new product, they'd think about it, okay, so I'm going to create this, and then how do I sell it? What are my distribution channels? I would say that there are no more generic distribution channels. The way to look at it is from the consumer perspective. The way to look at it is, what am I selling, and who possibly could be my customer, and why would this person want to be my customer? And if this person wants to be my customer, how do I talk to them? How do I reach them? I mean, it's incredible how social media, I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. My daughter is more familiar with social media than I am. I am trying to keep up. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and it goes on and on and on and on, have completely changed messaging, have completely changed how people message, how people follow, how people can communicate. By throwing something online, they can overnight, successfully, or in most cases, sometimes unsuccessfully, completely affect their business. So I think that there is no longer what I would call the traditional channels. What there is a traditional customer. And the traditional customer has not changed. What they are is smarter, but they haven't changed. The same things that got them excited 10 years ago are going to get them excited today. They're going to care. So make them care. I also think that the market has changed and that the word luxury, in a way, has become irrelevant. And it's become irrelevant because of this aspirational moment, which means that everybody has tried to offer everything to everybody at every price point. So if you really think about it, what you're really trying to create is authenticity. To me, that's what true luxury is about. It's craftsmanship, it's the hand, it's the eye, it's the fact that it matters, it's timelessness. And what does timelessness mean? Timelessness doesn't mean that I have to create something that, you know, is so boring that nobody's ever going to want to get rid of it. I have to create something that year after year I love more. That's the proof of the success of the Hermès bag. They have one bag that they've been doing for years and years and years and years, and people still love today. Why? Is it the bag? Is it the brand? Is it what the bag means? Is it what the brand means? Is it the consistency of their messaging? Is it the fact that it doesn't fall apart? Is it the fact that it ages well and your child says to you, will you give me that bag one day? What is it? Maybe it's all of those things. I mean, when you go back and you think about Chanel today and you say, okay, Chanel today is very successful, right? So why is Chanel very successful today? Is it because Karl Lagerfeld? Is it because Chanel's a big company? Is it because they have incredible runway shows? Or is it because they've taken a language that they know has authenticity and made that language relevant to what we want today? Because that relevant factor is really important. Because nobody wants to be wearing their grandmother's clothes. But everybody will want to have their grandmother's amazing jacket if it's still relevant today. So I think that more and more today, the notions of mid, mass, high have gone away. I think what really matters is, what is your message? And why is your message important? And it's very okay to say that I have a message that I want to spread widely. It doesn't change anything. And I mean, I've just talked about that, which is the new customer, which is somebody who is fickle, somebody who's changing, somebody who still wants the same thing that they always wanted, but has no problem, because they're intelligent, very intelligent today, has no problem shopping high, low, up, down, north, south, anyway. So they will not be as loyal. They'll only be loyal to the brands and the products that are loyal to them. And what that means is that they're actually happy to own them, happy to be part of them. So I've also talked about this, the fact that, you know, it's really all about the consumer. It really is no longer about the distribution channels. So this is what I was sort of talking about when I was saying that the way to think about business today is to put the customer in the center and to think about all of the different opportunities that are available. And how can you get the conversation to matter? Because the conversation needs to matter differently at different points. I mean, of course the stores are important because you need to have a place where product can be seen. And how can it be seen? Can it be seen in a big way? Can it be seen in a small way? Is it a product? Is it a concept? Is it an idea? Magazines are important because we need somebody to communicate the message. All of the openness that's happening around social media is important because you can get conversation, you can get feedback, you can create things. Online is important because it's easy access. So rethinking what was traditional into there's a different state of mind today. It's fast. But fast doesn't mean that we have to become fast. Do you understand what I'm saying? You don't have to be fast, but the market is fast. And sometimes by slowing down and being able to really believe and consistently repeat, your customer will come along with you much faster. If you're changing your look every single season, they don't know how to recognize you. I mean, there's so many designers out there that are unrecognizable. You can walk into a bag department and every bag looks the same. Why? Because hardware's in and black always sells. So hardware's in and black always sells. I don't know what it is. Is it Balenciaga? Is it Marc Jacobs? Is it this? Is it that? Is it the way that the stores are displaying them? I mean, I was just talking to somebody today and they said, you know, what's really happening here is that it's all about fur this season. So in America, there's a huge issue because fur has connotations. So why do we think that fur next season is such an important thing? It's not so much that it's fur. It's the fact that a consumer can buy now an accessory, okay, which is not a fur coat, which is a vest, a scarf, a piece of, you know, a little cape, a little something, where they can feel like when they've bought it, that they actually have bought something extraordinary. That's gonna change their look. That's not gonna be another black sweater. It's not gonna be a pair of pants. And they've bought so many shoes, they're kind of like, they're shoed out. And they don't really like the handbags because they're heavy and they're clunky and they've already bought a handbag. So that's the only reason, because it's a showstopper. And people are asking for showstoppers again. They're asking for something that somebody can say, oh my God, where'd you get that? So the designers are trying really hard to recreate the magic, to recreate the excitement. And how do they do that? Still keeping their individuality and sticking to what they really believe in without getting lost in the clutter. So what is the tipping point? The tipping point is that you're in an incredible moment right now because so many of the big brands that have been so important for, I would say, so many years have become less exciting. And why have they become less exciting? Because the consumer doesn't really care as much anymore. Do I really care whether I'm wearing a Valentino logo or not? I don't know. I could fall in love with an amazing Valentino bag, but do I really need to have that logo? Maybe not. Does it really matter to me whether I have a Dolce & Gabbana coat? Or could I take another black coat? So I think that the consumer has lost the importance, but losing the importance doesn't mean losing the desire. So a lot of the brands that were like the heroic big brands now are all of a sudden in a place where they could be vulnerable. The stores could be vulnerable because there's a lot of smart people doing things online. So a lot of the contemporary brands, there's too many of them. Do they look the same? I mean, how many t-shirts have you guys seen with the jewelry embroidery on it? I mean, we know it's been a moment. Vera launched it a few years ago, or you could say Albert Albaz launched it a few years ago. And now everybody thinks that they've got to create that new t-shirt with the jewelry around its neck. Well, you know what? I've seen it. I've seen it at $100, I've seen it at $3, I've seen it at $6, I've seen it at $7, and I've seen it, and I've seen it, and I don't really care. So you've got a moment to actually break out. You've got a Geraldine Studs moment happening right now. You've got a consumer which will continue to buy, that wants to buy, but wants value, So you give them value by giving them incredible things, or you give them value by giving them a great price point. Doesn't really matter, but give them value. Give them something to get excited about. Mean something. Have a story to say, and believe that anything is doable if you can really follow up with it. I'll tell you, last year, I decided to create a line for HSN. So when you see all around my name, luxury, 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 you think, what are you doing? HSN is a mass market channel, 90 million viewers, average transaction is about $122, completely different market. Why would you do it, right? Well, why would I do it? Because my interest is in high and low, and my interest is, does it really matter what you're spending in order to have style? And if you really believe that you've got a great product, can you inspire a bigger audience? So that was my point of view, and it was also my challenge, because could I do this? Would they be interested at all? Can I create this kind of product at this price point? Not to mention that you get to learn something completely new. So this is one of my necklaces, and my earrings, and my watch. And I'm wearing it, and my philosophy towards it is I will wear practically every piece that I create. Because to me, whether that piece retails for $79.99 or $500, the soul that approaches it is the same. Of course you can't have the same materials. Of course you can't have gold and silver and crocodile and hand-stitched and all that. But that doesn't mean that you can't be authentic to creating something wonderful. So this is glass instead of being lucite, right? And it's not silver, it's metal, right? So there's always compromises. But at the end, the excitement is just the same. So I'm just saying this because I think that you have to constantly question yourself, and you have to constantly say, okay, what's being held important today? And maybe when I started, the big thing was the catalogs. Well, now, maybe that's less important. Doesn't mean that I don't do it. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Maybe the internet was less important, now the internet is more important. Maybe I never did social media, now I've got to do social media. Maybe price points were less relevant, and now they are relevant. So I think it's this whole combination that really makes us think. And I can tell you that I spent every day rethinking what I do. I mean, to the point sometimes where I'm like, why am I doing it? Rethinking the conversation, rethinking the ideas, observing the market and saying, how can I make a difference? And you know what? If Vivre goes away tomorrow, does it matter? If a brand that you love goes away and disappears, that's the first testimony brand, do you care? Do you care enough for it to make a difference about your life? So to me, that's what true luxury is about. Because luxury is not a price point. Luxury is a state of mind. And it's a state of mind of wanting to collect, wanting to build, being inspired. We all want to be inspired. Every day. So that was part of the new line that I just did, and it's called V by Eva. Here you see two of the products. That's it. So on that note, I leave it to you. If you have any questions, anything you want to... Have I put everybody to sleep? Where am I going with it? The reception's been really good, actually, and I've had a great time doing it because I've learned a whole sort of new side of the business, which is the supply chain. But more importantly, what I've learned is to think about my products with a very different customer in mind. However, having the same desires as every other customer, which is challenging. So it's going well. Where am I taking it? I'm getting a lot more shows, so I'll be on the 16th of March if you want to look at the show then. I'm going to move into Europe, Japan, and Italy with the same line because the thought process behind what I create is not American, but it's global. It's hopefully things that, doesn't matter where you are, you'll want. And it's a line that I really believe in and that I want to create and I believe can sit very well with Vivre. And actually with Vivre, I have the intention of doing the same thing, creating our own product, creating, stores and environments where the two things can sit together, that are an experience, that are a curated moment. Today, the line consists of 3 categories: ready-to-wear, jewelry, and leather goods. Um, I'm focusing right now on the woman because she's much more fervent into shopping. We will probably go into other categories like shoes and fragrances and sunglasses and things like that, but not yet. We will use different channels, but what we won't do is look at it from a product basis. So what we'll do is we'll look at it from a brand basis. So as long as we can create the experience, we will use different channels. Now, having said that, there are product categories that you don't want to do that with. So if you look at a product category like sunglasses or fragrances, you need to go to specialty because that's where people go to buy those things. So, everything that you do, you have to really think through how you kind of do it and how you measure it so that it has the right effect on the product and the quantity that you want to do. Well, look, I believe that it's very important, and I'll tell you why. Because, for example, yes, I was in banking, but that was 15 years ago. It was 2 years, right? And what I built for my company, I built it from the ground up. So every single thing I've done, I've been on print runs, I've bought paper, I've been in photo shoots, I've done the thing. I have done every single piece, which means that today I can sit and understand what's going on. And I believe that that's what's lacking in today's market. What's lacking in today is that we all believe that just with great ideas we can make it happen. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the Valentino movie. Some people love it, some people don't love it. But I'll tell you one thing that I think is extraordinary about this movie is that you realize what couture is really all about. I mean, it is with the hand and the needle. And when you know with the hand and the needle, you'll actually know how a piece drapes. And you know what? You're going to be able to drape that piece better than somebody else because you've done it. It's yours, as opposed to somebody showing you a sample. You put it on a fit model, it goes into the store, it fits just like another t-shirt or another piece that somebody else has. So, and that to me goes back to authenticity. It really goes back to that. I mean, if you look at the people who really created things, they came from the métier. I mean, people talk about Alexander McQueen. Well, Alexander McQueen, was a great talent because he actually learned in one of the best schools in the world. And what you know about him is his drape and his fit and his cut is what makes him incredible. So you can't skip. You can get lucky, but I'll tell you, luck doesn't happen unless you know luck is happening. So if you want to get lucky, you got to let luck happen, which means you got to know what you're doing. So I'm a huge believer in the groundwork. I mean, when people say there's no merchants, there's no more education for merchants. And that's exactly the problem, because you look at a spreadsheet and you say, I'm responsible for handbags, and I've had these 5 handbags, and this has been my sell-through. It doesn't matter if I believe in the handbag, don't believe in the handbag. I'm just going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to go with, past projections. So who cares? So I don't know if that... You have more questions? So any more questions? Go ahead. was how did I transition from banking into, well, I think the way I transitioned, I just took a risk. I just left banking saying, this is fantastic and I love the business, but it's moving numbers around on paper and I want to create something. And coming from an entrepreneurial family, my father's an entrepreneur, I guess it's that little flame in your belly where, you think you've got nothing to lose, so you jump. And actually, I didn't have much to lose at the time. So that's why I say ignorance is a very important thing. Obviously, once you do that, then you have to persevere because it's not that easy. And, when I did it, I really didn't know what I was doing. I knew nothing about the catalog business for sure. What I knew about fashion was, having been brought up and exposed to it my whole life and traveled everywhere, it was more of an acquired idea than it was a real idea. I never learned couture. I never learned all of these things. I don't think that was important because what I say today, what's really important is your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your feeling. It's all around us, all the time. And, Picasso always said, good artists borrow, great artists steal, right? So everything that's fantastic always comes back from somewhere. Architecture, design, so many things. So I don't know if that answers that. Your second question was? Well, I'm passionate about the world. I'm passionate about people. I'm passionate about designers. I'm passionate about great design. I'm passionate about changing what we believe to be right. I don't believe that you have style because, or class because you live somewhere or you buy from a certain brand. I believe that the mix is interesting. I believe that knowing people who have incredible talent that nobody knows about is unacceptable, that we want to expose those people. I believe that, we should be individuals, and that's what makes us exciting. And creating that message, finding that message, searching that message, and finding the people who represent it and putting it all together for the world to have it excites me. I believe that we live in a global world, and I'd like to create a global brand. And I would like to create a global brand that makes us feel like we are having fun again, that we can fall in love, and actually want the product year after year, and that one day you say, I gotta I'm viving it, as opposed to I'm wearing it. So that's what keeps me excited. What keeps me exciting is the delusion or the belief that I can do that. I think there's a bit of delusion. You need, Steve Jobs said something which I think is fantastic in his speech, which was one of the most inspiring speeches for me. He said, stay hungry, stay foolish, right? And you need a little bit of je ne sais quoi, what they say in French, like a little bit of insanity to believe in your own thing. Now, obviously, after insanity proves you wrong, you better wake up and say, I've got to change course. But you gotta kind of jump. The point you just made on the price point, I don't believe in that at all. And I'll tell you why I don't believe it at all. If you really think about it, every luxury brand has done this forever, right? Now, let's take, Hermes, for example, just because it's on top of my tongue, or Vuitton. Their business has not been built on the Birkin bag. Their image has been built on the Birkin bag. Their business has been built on the scarves, the carré, which are $150, $160, $170, whatever the price is now, the fragrance, and the smaller types of product, the ties for men. That's what got them to sustain the business. Same with Vuitton, same with all of these other brands. So the idea of the inspirational price point, the price point that gets people to go into a brand has always existed. What's changed now is that people are marketing it through different ways and marketing it through different channels. And I actually I think if the product itself has generic credibility for what it stands for, that it's not trying to pretend to be, right? I would never do a faux crocodile bag at a low price because then I'm sort of discounting what I really do. But what's wrong with doing a simple leather bag that you have fun with? That doesn't discount the other. So if your product, whatever price point it stands of, has integrity to what it does, I don't believe that the customer is going to do one versus the other. And I actually think that the more you see something, the more you want it, the more you hear about it, the more you care about it. And I just think that everything in life is how you do it, not what you do. I think that our customers are very intelligent and educated and sophisticated, so they buy across all price points. Having said that, we have customers that come to us for gifts for other people. We have customers who come to us to buy home articles because